Hello, I'm Catell. I am doing this little video for you again. I was live last Thursday on the Bang Bang Live Illustration Fest, and for some reason I managed to delete my video, which was a shame. I just wanted to recapitulate what I was saying, just to kind of, for those of you who didn't manage to see the live video. I thought it'd be nice to actually, just say basically what it was about, and So yes, thank you very much for having me. I think it's really brilliant to be able to talk to you and from Switzerland, and hello Russia. I'm very, very honored to speak, to a Russian audience. Yes. So basically, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about self-promotion and authorship. I'm an illustrator. I work mainly in magazines and publishing and in the press, children's books or, school books. At the minute, I'm doing some stuff for schools. Things like that. And I also do my own projects. So basically, I've started doing a few projects that I am going to show you that are self-initiated, because I think it's really important as an illustrator to also work for yourself and to basically be your own client and use your own ideas. So I'm going to basically talk a little bit about my self-promotion technique, if you can call it that, and then a little bit about ideas, and finally about authorship and the illustrator as an artist. Okay, so self-promo, I tend to think that it's very important to self-promote often with fresh work, with new work. What I think and what I've learned is that it's not necessary to waste too much self-promotion stuff, to send out too much work to too many potential clients, because it's sort of, you're spreading yourself very thinly. That means that in the end, you're not going to get very many results. But what I find is very important to speak to people that you really want to work with. So I tend to send regularly some stuff to my most favorite clients, to any sort of clients that I think are really interest me and that I really want to work with. And yes, and basically also I think it's very important to find exactly the right kind of person. So if I have a client that I really find interesting, or a potential client, I'm just going to have to find out what this person wants, what is their requirement, what are their requirements, what do they publish, and how can I fit in that publishing program. So it's very important to speak to the right person, target the right person with the right work. There's no use to sending some kind of stuff to a children's book publishers if it's nothing to do with children, or if it wouldn't appeal to children or parents, for instance. So that's what I would say is really important. And secondly, I also really like I like social media, but not just for self-promo. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But I really like sending the traditional postcards, the postcards that is just normal because it's nice. It's something that you can hold. You can hold it in your hands, and it's got this physical thing, and I think it's very important to stand out, to do something that is non-digital, because nowadays you have to imagine most art directors get so much promotion through the email and social media. So it's actually quite nice to send something on a postcard via the mail, very traditional, very normal, but yet so charming, and actually I think it's even more valuable than just sending stuff out via email, because everybody does it basically. So there's no need to just email people. I think it's still, the traditional methods are still the one that stood the test of time and that are really worth it. So I like sending postcards. I'm going to show you a few. These are some of my postcards that I've sent recently throughout the years. I wanted to show you this one here because it's quite interesting. It's I've done it quite a few years ago, but I like the fact that it's a self-authored piece. It's basically, I was observing people on the streets of London, and I'm really into people and textures and fashion. So I was looking at the way people were dressing and what they, you know, how they looked like. And I made my own little book, or my little fold out Constantina book. And I made about 200 pieces. I sent it around to 50 art directors, and I got only one reply. So basically just one person replied to this little mailer. But it was interesting because often when you do self-promotion, you send out lots and lots and lots, and you only get maybe 2 people who are interested. You know, that's the sad reality, is that it's not really that much that comes back. But with this one here, I got a really interesting commission. I was actually very, very happy when I got contacted by Penguin Books in the UK. So I got to do this book cover. It's actually a trilogy, and basically they were looking for exactly this kind of style, and they said that it suited exactly this story. So, you know, the right kind of visual for the right kind of story. And it was lucky for me because I got to do the stuff that I personally, you know, love doing. So painting people, crazy colors, patterns, you know, that's exactly what they were looking for, and I got to do what I love doing. And then I really like doing botanical stuff, so I made this postcard. It's actually something that I did in the past for the New York Botanical Gardens. It was an animation, and I was lucky enough to get this job. I was really thrilled. I had a very good agent at the time who gave me this job. I made these little vignettes, and I had so much fun doing them because I really love food, and I love botanical stuff, and I love vegetables, as you can see. I made it into a postcard. So again, you know, it's something that I would really see myself doing in the future, and that's what I want people to commission me, to give me as work. So this is what you have to remember if you send out postcards. Make sure that it's work that you want to do. Okay, and then sometimes I like doing personal commentary. I like reading the news like everyone, and I have my own personal commentary. So I made this little piece about an earthquake that actually happened in Haiti years ago, and I read an article about an island, well actually Haiti, and how on the one hand it got destroyed by the earthquake, and on the other hand, you know, people went and did their holidays there. And I thought it was a very interesting contradiction. Like, you know, the world is full of contradictions, and I wanted to make a comment, a visual comment on this story about this contradiction between, you know, rich and poor, and tourism, and using, you know, resources, and the beauty of nature. You know, all sorts of different aspects that I wanted to combine and make something out of. So this became my postcard. And I quite like, you know, reflecting about the world and just making visual commentaries that turn either into postcards, or I put them on my web page. And eventually this leads to commissions because art directors can see it, and then they commission me on that basis. Okay, I'm really into botanical illustration. I think it's very important as an illustrator to do the stuff that inspires you, and do it on take it to the next level. So not just working for clients, but also working for yourself. I started working with ceramics because I find that's the great thing as an illustrator. You know, you have the power of ideas and the power to reinvent yourself all the time. So really you are a hybrid. You can be whatever you want, and nobody actually is going to tell you what you're supposed to be as an illustrator, you know. And you can do stuff like filmmaking, animations, you can be a comic book writer, You can create textiles, you can do food illustration, you can do products, you know, you can do ceramics. I mean, who says what you can do? Illustration is everywhere, and as an illustrator you can dabble into all sorts of techniques and ways of working, and you can still call it illustration, basically. And I think this is the richness of our job as illustrators, is that because we are constantly thinking about the world in visual ways, and we have ideas non-stop, and we want to produce nice things. You know, we are almost, I mean, I certainly am very obsessed with beauty and how can I make the world a nicer, nicer looking place? How can I actually transform my ideas into visuals? And, you know, I say this also because I think this is exactly what we do. We are trendsetters as illustrators, and the commercial world, people with money, they want us. So we actually, you know, we call the shots because we are the ones who are constantly inspired, and we constantly produce what the world will want tomorrow. You know, today we do something nice, a small self-promo piece or a little piece of our own work, and tomorrow it's the big corporations that will want this because, you know, this is how it works. So basically the thought, the ideas are ours, and we always have to remember that this is our biggest asset, is the way we think and what we want to, how we want to beautify the world. So anyway, I was very interested in starting to work with ceramics and put my visual language onto porcelain. So I started working, you know, like on 3D, on porcelain, on ceramic stuff. I realized that I very much enjoy that. I very much enjoy working with something that is more tangible, more physical, and that is like a product in the end, that becomes like a, you know, a piece of work that is a bit more solid than just a 2D illustration, even though this is still a bit 2D, but you see what I mean. I started making little cups and objects, you know, these are my so-called espresso cups, where you can see my visual language is directly, you know, transferred onto it. And I have so much fun, you know, it's so much fun doing this, so much fun just producing that kind of stuff. And I really love jungles, you know, I'm really into, like I said, botanical stuff, shapes. I always go on walks in nature and then I translate it into ceramic pieces. And I also like, I've got this little series of bowls. This is one of them, and I quite like it when it becomes this thing that you can use in the household as an object, and still it's a piece of my own work. You know, I still have something that I've decorated. So yes, this is the stuff that I like doing, and it's ongoing, and you can see more on Catell Ronca ceramics.com. And so yeah, and finally, I just want to talk to you about my posters, because I've started doing, again, a series of self-authored posters where I'm basically, it's my own project. I'm not doing it for anyone. I'm just doing it for myself in order to perhaps get it exhibited, and posters about famous people and their collections. So I'm really fascinated how I can portray someone through their objects, through their homes, but not actually showing the person themselves. So I've chosen Sigmund Freud. Here, I just wanted to show you quickly. It's Sigmund Freud's collection of objects that he uses in his study, or that he used to work with in consultations with his patients, who he tried to draw parallels between the problems the patient had and the mythology of, say, Greek mythology or Egyptian mythology, or the rituals that were, you know, celebrated in Egypt in order to tell the patients how, you know, all these things happened in the past before, and archetypes and things like that. And I thought that was very fascinating. So I created this poster. It's all, you know, objects that are on a show in London in the Freud Museum, so I can very much recommend it. Then I made a piece about Henry Wellcome's collection. Again, it's a collection of objects by one man, and this time the objects are all about medicine in different cultures and different times. So medicinal objects, ritualistic objects, fertility objects, objects that one uses for operations, ritualistic stuff, sacred objects, lucky charms, you know, anything that has to do with human health and so on. And I thought it was fascinating to do this because I'm really, you know, I love different things like that are quite peculiar and strange. And so yeah, this is Henry Wellcome's poster. And then finally I did a poster about one of my favorite artists called Henry Darger. I don't know if you know Henry Darger. He is he was very famous, an outsider artist who worked on his own in America. He died in 1974, I think. And he produced this huge amount of work in his little room. Nobody knew him. He was completely incognito, but he was extremely productive. And he created a story about these girls, and who are actually also little boys, and how they fight evil. And it's a very, very, very amazing body of work. But I've decided to make these posters because I'm very much intrigued by objects and things like that. So yes, you can see these posters. You can order them if you want in my shop. You can see my shops on my website, catellronca.com. Yes, but I'll be doing some more, and especially I want to do some more posters, collections of women, famous women, because mostly we hear about men, but not enough about women. And of course, there are plenty of really interesting, you know, people in the world. Okay, so this is it. I'm very happy that I could repost this video, and please do ask me any questions if you have any. I couldn't respond to all of them. There was some kind of problem on the website, so I couldn't reply. But thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Olga, and everyone. And yes, I hope to speak to you and see you very soon. Bye-bye.